What's going on YouTube? So BYD is a major Chinese automaker, and Denza is one of their new luxury brands inside of their division. Now what we're standing next to right here is the Denza Z9 GT. This is a flagship level vehicle that has its sights set squarely on flagship rivals like the S-Class. But this sure doesn't cost what an S-Class costs. It actually starts at about $45,000. So is this an 870 horsepower, $45,000 S-Class rival? Let's go ahead and find out. Now, just before we begin here, I do want to point out the fact that Denza is not a vehicle that's currently available in the US. We are actually in Southern California, though. We're taking a look at the vehicle supplied by our friends at DCar Studio. They actually imported a collection of Chinese automobiles to the US so that people like us could come and take a unbiased first look at these really cool products coming out of China that we normally would have no access to whatsoever. So with that being said, let's kind of jump in and see what you're going to get on board with this model. So obviously you can take a look at this exterior design. It really looks like nothing else on the road, especially here in the States. It's a very sleek overall design. You're going to have a minimalistic fascia with just some gloss black finish down here on the bottom part. Of course, your Denza branding. And then you've got some really elongated headlights going on through here. These, of course, are full LED headlights for all the units. You also have your turn signal indicator with a dynamic indicator underneath of that. Now moving on to the wheels, we have large 21-inch alloys. As you can tell, we've got this nice multi-spoke contrast design. Also, those wheel caps in the middle do stay upright like a Rolls Royce. Got a little bit of a kind of side accent, which is going to fall down the front through there. And then, of course, this looks unusual to our American viewers. We have a camera mirror in place of a traditional mirror. This would not be legal in the US if this vehicle was on sale at the current time. However, today we're actually going to be able to experience what this is like to have a camera instead of a mirror on the road for the very first time.
Now, Drew said at the beginning this was an S-Class-like competitor, and certainly it is in terms of length as well. We're sitting at over 200 inches, about 203 inches in length, so this is something that you could cross-shop theoretically with a Mercedes S-Class or Porsche Panamera as well. Now, as far as the overall side design, I think it looks absolutely fantastic. This is one good-looking vehicle, and we do have a very sleek profile as we head into the rear. And then speaking of the rear, this is another very unique angle for this model. It kind of has almost like a hatchback-like design, very sloped off window surround, and we have a very aggressive spoiler up here at the top. Now this is the Z9 GT, which means it's very high performance, and as such you have kind of the spoiler that allows for some airflow to go through. Additionally, as we head down to our taillights, we are going to have a very premium setup. So every element in here is fully LED, including the reverse light and the turn signal indicator that goes dynamically across the back. Additionally, our Denza logo is going to be illuminated, which is kind of a cool touch. Now, as we head around or down to the lower fascia, this is also going to be very aggressive. We're not going to have exposed exhaust outlets, but we do have an exhaust system down below. And as far as your safety systems are concerned, this of course has a lot of cameras around the vehicle. It is going to have every active safety feature as standard equipment. But guys, there is an incredibly nice cabin on the inside, so let's go ahead and dive into that. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We started young, and since then we've reviewed over 2,000 cars at every price point.
No matter what you're looking for, from sound level readings to cargo measurements, we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family.
Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the latest cars. All right, now let's go to the inside. First, take a look at the key fob. We have a very premium, heavy feeling key fob. Nice sleek design. You got, of course, smart entry. You have remote starter and preconditioning as well. And then we can just kind of walk up to the vehicle here. I'll go on and press the unlock there to pop out the door handles, and our mirrors will fold out as well. These are frameless glass windows. Now as I open up the door there, it plays a little chime and it greets you with some animations across the display. And guys, look at this interior. Really, really luxurious, very high tech, of course, in a way that you would not expect at all for this kind of price point. That's for sure. Now, as far as the seats are concerned, what we have on board is a beautiful Napa leather seat. You'll notice that we've got these nice flowing stitching designs that run throughout on this Ultra model. This is the top trim level. Really comfortable as well. And in terms of the adjustments, you got a whole bunch of them. They finished this in kind of a glass or a crystal type design for a lot of controls in the interior. So you can adjust things all throughout, including a thigh extension. It has massaging as well, of course, as you would almost expect for a flagship level vehicle. And let's go ahead and climb on in. Now I climbed on in and sat down in the seat, but I left the door open because I want to demonstrate that this does have power closing doors. There's a couple different ways that you can do this. I think the easiest way is just going to be put your foot on the brake, but there is also a button you can push right here as well, but I'll just go on and demonstrate that. And as you can see, that just goes ahead and fires up the vehicle and it adjusts to your proper seating position. But now that we're fully inside the interior, I think we need to go on and look at the overall material quality, because that, of course, is a big component in how this stacks up against, some of the premium German competition, is what types of materials you get with this vehicle. So let's take a look. Well, one thing, we're going to see some positive signs here because we actually have a leather trim that goes all the way from top to bottom. It's stitched down there on the bottom part, metal speaker grills stitched through the center section and stitched all along the top. We have a wood trim that's going to run all across the entire dashboard. More of the leather material goes across through here. You have some piano black accents. By the way, the vents do open up when you enter in, giving you that kind of thematic feel. Also, your phone chargers raise up from a recessed position. All this stuff is just to, make you feel nice and special when you get inside this vehicle. And I have to say, it does feel like a special place. It's really very solid. I was really curious to know if this was just kind of surface level luxury or like deep level luxury, but just the solidity and stuff does feel really very nice. Now let's get into some individual details. We'll start off as always with the gauge cluster. This is about a 10-inch display, really good graphics on board. Of course, you can change certain things about it, and they also adapt, when you're in drive to give you more details and things. Also, the same is going to go for the super large head-up display. My notes say that almost all the versions are going to get this huge head-up display with a lot of different information, blind spot, stuff like that. Now, as you pull back to the steering wheel, we've got a really nice leather-wrapped one. It's flat-bottomed. It has a leather-covered airbag cover as well. And I think something about this overall design actually reminded me of that Fisker Karma back when that was out. Something about it. But I do like that it has these physical controls as well, so this is all easy. You can feel this without losing your attention. Now, of course, over here you can see for the first time that camera mirror I was talking about earlier. So, obviously you don't get anything up there. You just kind of glance down there. It's going to give you that live stream. We'll see how I like that in just a little bit. Now let's take a look at some storage options in here. So we can open up this. When you take a peek inside, you're going to see that we have not a ton of storage, but we've got an ice cold bottle of water. That's because this is both a refrigerator and it can heat as well, just to keep things in there. It's really cold. I like that a lot. There's even another one later on. Mason will show you that one. You can adjust it through there. Two very tiny, not American sized cup holders. We've got a double wireless phone charging pad set up here with 50-watt fast charging. That's really fantastic. And then you've got a huge amount of pass-through storage with lining. Shifter is super unique looking. You can see it's kind of made of this crystal glass material you see throughout the entire interior. Pull down for drive. Press up for reverse. When you go into reverse, we have a terrific looking backup camera. It's obviously huge, takes up the entire screen. Also, you can get into a lot of self-parking things by clicking that button right there. We can also check this out in 3D by kind of clicking around. Again, resolution on this is fantastic. Park is going to be located right there next to the shifter. You also have some, various drive mode controls, things like that. Here's your self-park. All those different functions are going to be in those little glass buttons below. Now, let's move up to the main display. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of the rest of the stuff inside of this display. It's really big. This is a little over 17 inches in terms of the overall size. And again, the resolution on these screens are just absolutely insane compared to what you normally get in an American vehicle. Performance, just terrific. Look at how responsive it is. I love this kind of rendering, and it does respond, if you open up the doors, the trunk, all those things reflect inside of this kind of central graphic as the home screen. You've got some shortcuts down along the bottom here for various functions. One of the things I want to talk about is, of course, your climate controls. You can adjust that right through there. If I tap on that, it's going to bring me to basically all the rest of my system settings so that I can scroll up and down with my temperature, fan speeds. This does have the vents that you have to adjust on the touch screen, so just be aware of that. You will need to kind of move those from here and there. Also inside this screen, you'll notice that I can launch my fragrance system, and I can also adjust the back climate as well. Now over here on this side, we're still not done. We've got a passenger display. This is, primarily used for entertainment, and you've got, some kind of fun little things that the passenger can play games, watch videos, stuff like that. Now let's go on and talk about the audio system. This has a really high-end sound system. We have 26 different speakers on board, including 3 that you maybe didn't see earlier that actually rise up out of the dashboard as I started up the audio system. Let's go ahead and give it a sample. Oh yeah, that's a nice sounding sound system. Really fills up this cabin well. It has a terrific surround sound effect because you're just really being encompassed by speakers all over the cabin. You'll notice kind of up here on the pillars, above the headrest, all around the cabin. You're just kind of enveloped. Okay, now in terms of some other things to look at before we wrap up the front of the cabin, we've got an auto-dimming mirror as you would expect. Our headliner here is finished in a really nice suede material. And let's see if I can go ahead and slide back our sunshade here. What we've got is a dual panel panoramic sunroof. So this front piece does open up. It's got the power sunshade, and then I can grab this back one here, show you what that looks like. This is a really large piece of glass, goes all the way back.
Now, the front seat certainly was impressive, but what about the back seat? And, well, spoiler alert, I think this is also going to be pretty impressive as well. For one, we have power doors for all 4, so we don't have to shut our own door. And let's just talk about this rear seat. I mean, oh my goodness, there is so much space and also so much luxury, especially for the price. This is an incredible value. So let's go ahead and talk about the space first. We don't have official legroom and headroom figures from Denza. However, we are sitting at over 12 inches, probably about 13 inches of knee room. Behind Drew's 5'8" driving position, I am 5'9" for reference. My feet can slide a little bit under the seat, but not fully. And then as far as the headroom, that's going to be an area that might be a little disappointing. If you guys are, 6 foot or above, your head might scrape a little bit on the ceiling because it's definitely a little bit more sloped back than a normal sedan. Now, as far as the features, let's dive into these because there are a lot of features. So starting out here in the center, you do have some vents. You can adjust those in this screen right now. What I have on the screen is the massage seat function. So yes, the rear seats are also massaging here in the second row. I did find that menu. And then down below that, We have this. We have 4-zone temperature adjustment, so that does allow us to make our own temperatures back here. And then let me see if I can find it here. It's in one of these menus that we have the heated back seats and ventilated back seats. Well, all right, I did find the menu finally. I apologize, I do not speak this language, but we do have heated and ventilated back seats in 3 different stages. That's really quite nice. Now, below that, we also have a household outlet as well as a USB-C port. Not done yet when it comes to features, because if we fold down this middle seat, very nicely dampened as well. We're going to have 2 cup holders, a really nice armrest, and then this will actually control the temperature of, drumroll please, a full refrigerator back here. So yes, we have a refrigerator even here in the second row of seats. This also can be doubled as a heating area as well. So if you want to keep a warm drink hot, you can also do that in this area. So really, really fancy stuff. That's even things that Mercedes S-Class and BMW 7 Series, they definitely make you pay extra for, that's for sure. Now we also have vanity mirrors. Here in the second row, we have the ability to open and shut our sunshade, and the seats back here are power adjusting. So over there on the door, you'll notice that we have the ability to power recline quite a good distance, and we even have a thigh extension. So this button right here is for the thigh extension, and so you can really maximize your overall comfort here in the back seats. This is one of the nicest back seats I've ever been in. Over on the door trim materials-wise, it is going to be leather from literally top to bottom, all the way in the center section and all the way down to the ground. All right, and let's go ahead and check out the cargo space. Now, I do apologize. We have quite a bit of camera gear in here, as well as some just other random things. This vehicle was imported in from China, so there's quite a bit of stuff back here. Denza is saying about 17 cubic feet of cargo space is what you can expect out of the Z9 behind the second row of seats. And then if we fold those seats down, which we can do by pushing these buttons right here, that will fully fold the second row of seats. And as you can see, it doesn't fold down that centerpiece that has the refrigerator, but you can actually fold down each side independently. That's going to give you a lot more practicality. Really, it's going to be more SUV-like in terms of practicality than your typical sedan like a Mercedes S-Class or 7 Series. So very impressed with all of that, but I think it's time for us to take it out for a spin because, like Drew said, this thing has over 800 horsepower. Well, guys, here we are behind the wheel of the Denza Z9 GT. Now, this thing is pretty crazy looking on the outside, but it might even be perhaps crazier out on the road. So let's go ahead and start by giving you a hard acceleration. We will also be covering quite a few other things, as you can see on the screen right now, including getting our sound level reading. But let's go ahead and start. All right, and that is up to 60 miles per hour in the Denza Z9 GT. Now, this thing, like we said at the introduction, is very fast. It has 870 horsepower, and what that's made up of is a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder engine. This is actually a plug-in hybrid vehicle, so it does also have 3 electric motors. On top of that, altogether gives you that 870 horsepower.
Yep, and in terms of your torque, it's also 689 pound-feet of torque, so a lot of power on board, that's for sure. I do want to point out this model that we're testing right now, the battery is pretty low on charge, so we're not getting the maximum possible effect in terms of acceleration where they're both working together, but still really, really fast acceleration. And the interesting thing about this model is you can choose if you want a plug-in hybrid variant or if you want a pure electric or a BEV. If you choose that one, you actually get a little bit more power. That's the one that gets you really, really close to 1,000 horsepower, which is super cool. Obviously, no matter what, though, you're getting a ton of power. Just kind of match with whatever works best for your lifestyle.
And yeah, I mean, even with it on the low state of charge and this not being as fast as it could be, this thing is still really, really fast. And, you know, we have talked this entire video about, you know, if this were brought to the United States, would you, you know, is this like a half-price Mercedes S-Class? In terms of performance, even here, like I said, not fully charged up, I think this definitely matches the level of performance that you'd find out of a gasoline Mercedes S-Class, that's for sure.
Yeah, probably the one with the V8, actually.
Yeah, maybe even the S-Class V8 versions. Just doing a little bit more of a gingerly acceleration there. I do also want to point out that it is actually a very smooth overall powertrain setup. Like I said, this is a plug-in hybrid, so between electric and engine handoff, I really can't tell at all what the vehicle is doing, which is exactly what you want out of a flagship. You just want that power, you know, when you put your foot down, but you want it to blend into the background otherwise.
Yeah, it's like the tiniest possible hum. Like, you really can't hear that engine at all. And if you choose the plug-in hybrid version, you might wonder, how far can you go? Well, without stopping, you can actually drive 684 miles, which is obviously exceptional. Of that, 125 approximately is your pure electric range. We don't have the exact battery capacity, but that tells me that you do have a pretty large battery pack, although not enormous.
Now that my lane is ending here, that's a good time for me to talk about these digital mirrors. Certainly is a little bit of an adjustment. This is the first time I've actually used it out on the road. It's a little weird to have to kind of look down, especially here on this left one. Over on the right side, I think it's a little bit more in your line of sight. That, of course, does help it to be a little bit more aerodynamic, but as far as general usability, I think I might prefer just a regular mirror, just for, you know, lack of confusion and having my eyes have to refocus on this screen right here. Although it does put blind spot information on the screen itself, and it's also in my head-up display.
Yeah, I will say I think it maybe minimizes the blind spot a little bit. It kind of makes it a smaller area than a traditional mirror, just kind of when I was watching that car drive by just then. But yeah, we'll see. Obviously, if it ever comes to the U.S. right now, this is not a allowed technology, but if they ever change the regulations, then maybe we'll have cars in the U.S. with this technology.
I'm going to go ahead and do a U-turn here, and that's a perfect time for me to also talk about the fact that this vehicle has rear steering. So that was a super tight turning circle. That is something that we've seen on other flagship vehicles like the Mercedes S-Class, but this definitely really helps a large sedan. It's over 200 inches long, to be quite maneuverable, especially in tight situations.
Yeah, and this also just has some really cool abilities when it comes to parking. Just some really neat tricks where it can actually kind of slide sideways, help you parallel park. You know, this is a very advanced vehicle. They've really given it a lot of technology to, you know, both kind of impress you, but also hopefully help you in your daily life.
All right, and we are at 80 kilometers an hour, which is 55.
Oh yeah, that's real nice right there. 51.8 decibels.
That is really good.
Yeah, that's really good. Now, obviously, we are in California, as we have mentioned before. This road is pretty newly paved, so it's not, you know, an official rating like we would have in Kentucky. That being said, I think it's a really good indication of what you could expect from a vehicle like this, and that's certainly right there in line with the upper tier sedans that we test out. You know, some of the very, very quietest vehicles in the entire world are testing in that about 50 range. So I'm thinking that this is a, you know, really, really quiet environment. It just sounds super quiet. Obviously, it's mostly, even when the engine is on, doesn't have much sound, or if it's operating under electric power, even less.
Yeah, and you can find all of those ratings at carconfections.com/sound level readings, where we put all of the vehicles that this could compete with, such as the flagship sedans, on our website. All right, and just hitting some of those bumps in the road, let's go ahead and discuss overall ride quality for the Denza Z9. Now, this vehicle does have an air suspension on board, and so far driving through some very rough Californian roads like through here, I've been very impressed with the overall ride and drive experience that this vehicle provides. Now, it does have some very stiff competition. Mercedes S-Class and BMW 7 Series, those are some of the very best riding vehicles out there. I'd say this is 85-90% as good as a lot of those vehicles. It does a really good job of soaking up the bumps as you hit them in the road. I will just point out, though, when it comes to overall dynamics, it does feel pretty heavy and very comfort focused, even in the sport mode in the screen.
Yeah, you can certainly tell this is not really targeted to be like a performance vehicle per se. It is more of a grand touring vehicle. You can tell that behind the wheel. And, you know, in terms of, like he was talking about with the overall just kind of, you know, ride experience, I don't know of anything that's quite gotten to the S-Class level yet.
No.
This isn't it, but also, as we talked about, and we'll talk about a little bit more, the price tag on this is nowhere near an S-Class or anything like that. So, you know, when you moderate your expectations just a little bit, I think you'd be pretty darn impressed.
All right, let's go ahead and get into our Car Confection Slam Dunk and Airball. I'll kick us off with the Slam Dunk just by saying the overall luxury experience that you get in here really impressed us. They have done a fantastic job with the luxury feel of this vehicle. This is one of those cars I was a little skeptical getting in. If you're going to try and, you know, target an S-Class as like a type of competitor, that's a big bar to cross, and I have to say they really have done a great job in the execution. I mean, the materials are fantastic. Even little things like the window switchgear feels nice to the touch. So the little details they've done right.
Yeah, and on the Airball side of things, we're going to say just the number of things that are kind of like mechanized. So there's a lot of things, as I mentioned, like the vents, which close off when you're out of the vehicle. This tray kind of lifts up. There's a lot of things that, dare I say, could go wrong. You know, I remember when Jag was doing this with the vents and the shifter kind of disappearing when the car was off, and then people were having it get stuck. I'm just maybe having a little bit of paranoia with that, but, you know, just kind of remembering that experience. There's a lot of different things in here that could go wrong, and hopefully they don't go wrong, but you got just a ridiculous amount of electronics and mechanical things.
Now, like Drew said at the very beginning, this thing has a much more affordable price tag than you might expect, especially now that you've seen all the luxury features that you're going to get. It starts at around $45,000. Now, keep in mind, it's not for sale in the U.S. right now. However, it is for sale in other markets around the world, and if you were to translate that to U.S. dollars, starts at $45,000. Now, this fully loaded example, this is the GT model as well as the Ultra trim level. We're sitting at $57,000 for this one, as seen. So that is literally about half price over a Mercedes S-Class, and that's probably not even a well-equipped S-Class. So that's just something to keep in mind. Now, if you're looking to buy a new vehicle, any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. The reason you do that is because we have a tool on our website that will connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealership negotiation. We even have a monthly payment tool if you'd like to check that out. Once again, you can find that in our video description. There's also a pinned comment at the top of this video. And guys, that's going to be it for our in-depth look at this Denza Z9 GT. This thing certainly is very appealing, and I have to say I was very impressed after spending some time with it. And if you enjoyed watching this video and learning about this car, we'd encourage you to hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you're going to be a part of our Car Confections family. We cover all types of cars, certainly not just Chinese EVs. We also cover everything in the American market, from expensive all the way down to very affordable products. So do yourself a favor and subscribe down below. If you're already part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support. And we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.